Please welcome the President and CEO of the National Marine Sanctuary Foundation, Joel R. Johnson.
Hello. All right, welcome back. We were just actually joking back there in the green room how much it sounds like the voiceover on that spot is me, but I can assure you it is not me. But welcome back. I hope you all had a fabulous lunch and break and enjoyed the last panel as well. Now we are moving on with something that I am particularly very excited to present to you all, which is this next session, From Sea to Shining Sea, Strengthening Coastal Economies and Communities. So once again, let's keep the CHOW 2025 hashtag going. I know many of you have posted a lot of great pictures and you have been able to make great connections. Let's make sure people out there know what's going on here at Capitol Hill Ocean Week 2025. So to begin, our American story is deeply rooted in our waters where we have a shared history. From sea to shining sea, our communities have worked to protect and preserve history, heritage, and culture enshrined in our nation's most treasured places. Today, I want to recognize Chairman Kenneth Kahn of the Santa Ynez Band of Chumash Indians. The recent designation of Chumash Heritage National Marine Sanctuary powerfully underscores the cultural and environmental significance of these types of efforts. Congratulations, Chairman, on the recent opening as well of the Santa Ynez Chumash Museum and Cultural Center, and I truly cannot wait to visit. By working hand in hand with communities and forging partnerships, we can advance local conservation, resilience, economic opportunity, recreation and tourism, and cultural preservation. All of these are the essence, honestly, of the American story on our coasts. Investing in marine sanctuaries ensures the lasting protection of our ocean. It safeguards both environmental health and it fuels the economic vitality of our coastal communities for generations to come. This particular session was sponsored by the David and Lucile Packard Foundation, so thank you very much for that sponsorship. The Packard Foundation supports enduring solutions for people and nature by investing in innovative leaders and partnerships that drive a lasting change. Now it is my pleasure, absolute pleasure, to introduce the moderator for this session, Nicole LaBeouf. Nicole LaBeouf is the Assistant Administrator for NOAA's National Ocean Service, leading staff in over 50 locations around the country. As the Assistant Administrator for NOAA's National Ocean Service, Nicole oversees strategy and operations for America's premier coastal and ocean agency. The National Ocean Service addresses economic, environmental, and social pressures on our ocean and coasts and oversees the Office of National Marine Sanctuaries. She oversees strategic and operational priorities in safe and efficient transportation and commerce, preparedness and risk reduction, and great stewardship of our coastal and ocean resources. As the focal point for conveying the value of NOS programs to Congress and other key stakeholders, Nicole also is a master at building partnerships across government, NGOs, industry to advance ocean and coastal science. She's also a very proud Texan native. Ms. LaBeouf has over 20 years of experience connecting science and policy, previously serving in roles with NOAA Fisheries and leading conservation efforts for protected marine species and supporting the response to the Deepwater Horizon oil spill. Please welcome to the stage my friend and partner in sanctuaries, Nicole LaBeouf.
Welcome, everyone. As Joel said, my name is Nicole LaBeouf. I'm the Assistant Administrator of NOAA's National Ocean Service. I'm so excited to be here today to talk about the value of the National Marine Sanctuaries and marine protected areas for coastal communities. This year's CHOW is, as ever, full of really exciting events, so we're very happy that you all have chosen to be with us today. We have an incredible panel today of inspiring tribal and community leaders, fishermen, business owners, and historians, all united by a shared sense of conservation and stewardship of our coastal, marine, and maritime heritage for generations of Americans to come. Before we begin our discussion, I will say that you are welcome to write your questions down on a piece of paper. There will be someone collecting those along the way. And if we have time at the end, we will take a few audience questions. I hope we do have time for that. I would also like to take a moment to celebrate the success of the National Marine Sanctuaries as an endeavor. 50 years ago, in 1975, the first National Marine Sanctuary was designated to protect the USS Monitor. Since the very beginning, the National Marine Sanctuaries have protected and preserved our natural and cultural heritage and our coastal maritime heritages, giving us a demonstration each and every day that ecosystems are more than intrinsic places of beauty, but a source of livelihood, prosperity, and cultural importance. Of course, our coastal communities have always known that these coastal and marine spaces give us a strong sense of place. Growing up along the Texas Gulf Coast, as Joel mentioned, I spent a lot of time on the water and in the marsh, whether I was fishing, crabbing, birding, you name it. My youth and so many of my foundational memories, probably like many of yours, were born in and around the coast. Through our stewardship of the National Marine Sanctuaries, these special places have become foundational touchstones for communities and for preserving our shared natural and historic heritage. Each and every day, the National Marine Sanctuaries bring value to the public, not just in its amazing economic return on investment, but through their stewardship, prosperity, and the resilience that they both inspire and enable. In this session, I'm excited to explore how the National Marine Sanctuaries provide places for all of us to steward our shared cultural and natural resources for the future. Our panelists today are uniquely qualified to speak on this topic as they live in, work on, and conserve these natural and maritime resources for the future. Without further ado, let me introduce our panelists and ask them to say a few words about themselves. First, Kenneth Kahn is the chairman of the St. Ynez Band of Chumash Indians. The Chumash people's homelands and waters extend over a large area of the Southern California coastline and inland along the western edge of the San Joaquin Valley. Chairman Kahn has been an incredible advocate for the Chumash people and their interest in managing both lands and waters, and as a strong partner in the development of the Chumash Heritage National Marine Sanctuary. Chairman Kahn, please join us, or thank you for joining us, and
Absolutely.
Please take a moment at the podium to introduce yourself.
You bet. Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, good afternoon, everybody. It's an honor and a pleasure to be here to listen, learn, and share a little bit about our journey. My name is Kenneth Kahn. I am the chairman for the St. Ynez Band of Chumash Indians. We are located in Santa Ynez, California, just north of Santa Barbara. The Aboriginal territory of all the Chumash is about 7,000 square miles. Our band is the only federally recognized band of Chumash today, and we reside in the small community of Santa Ynez on about 1,600 acres. And so our ways of life with the land and with the sea, and of course in respect with all of the species that inhabit it is extremely important. We want to share a little bit. I want to share a little bit with you today about our journey with the Chumash Marine Sanctuary, and also a little bit about our museum, about our tribe, and all of our efforts. And so, again, it's a pleasure to be here in your presence, and I look forward to any questions and also learning from you as well. So, thank you. Kakinash.
Next, I'd like to introduce Jim Ritterhoff, the Executive Director of Force Blue. Under Jim's leadership, Force Blue unites the community of Special Operations veterans and the world of marine science and conservation under one mission-driven program: Jim is intimately familiar with our sanctuary system, and I understand has committed to visiting every National Marine Sanctuary with his Force Blue team. Jim, thank you so much for joining us. We can't wait to hear from you. Please take the podium and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Thank you. Thank you all. As Nicole said, my name is Jim Ritterhoff. I'm the executive director and co-founder of Force Blue. We are the only nonprofit organization in the world that retrains and redeploys special operations veterans and military-trained combat divers from all branches of service to work with scientists and environmentalists on marine conservation missions. I'm just curious, prior to this week, had anybody ever heard of Force Blue? Please raise your hand if you'd heard of us prior to this. Okay. Since there are a few people that didn't raise their hands, that gives me the great excuse to let our veterans tell you a little bit more about our organization, way more artfully than I ever could. So if we could play the video, please.
One of the things that's very synonymous with all veterans' experiences is a loss of identity when you leave the service.
That darkness started tearing me apart. We go to places of sacrifice and suffering.
What if service didn't have to stop?
The reason you can get past all of the crazy things that happen is because you have a team there driving towards one thing, which is mission. You can get past everything until you don't have a mission.
What if skills honed over a lifetime of sacrifice could be repurposed?
There's this front line of scientists and marine biologists, but they're under-resourced. What we can do as a military force with a sense of mission and purpose is we can bring those skills to bear, focus less on veterans' problems and more on veterans' potential.
What if the linchpin of transition became the launch pad for success?
Our soapbox is worn out, but when you talk, people listen. Working with the Force Blue team, we realize that this is our time to change the tides.
Where would it take us?
Veterans are teaming up with the NFL to clean up trash in the Gulf of Mexico.
Now, these divers are about to go into the Salt River. They're going to be looking for apple snail clusters, and it's going to be a real challenge.
Unique to LA is its kelp forests that have been decimated from an overpopulated sea urchin species.
What could we change?
As soon as we create sort of a plowed field, up to 750 different species will be able to move in.
We can help this animal by taking it in. Their specialty is in treating turtles that have these tumors.
Today we transplanted 125 coral fragments, and it brought our grand total up to 5,305 corals.
Who might we inspire?
I learned that the world is a lot bigger than we all think, and we are very lucky to have what we have.
We're teaching them how to embrace discomfort and risk and challenge. We can't carry that by ourselves. We can share in that together.
It's a two-part mission. One is to heal the ocean, and the second mission is to heal ourselves.
When I came back from my first dive mission, my wife and daughter could see that energy again. They could see me so happy. I was part of a team again.
These guys are our heroes. They've switched gears, but they haven't stopped being who they are. Now it's up to us to let them lead us, not into war, but into conservation.
To be in meaningful groups where I can develop that sense of continued growth beyond our experiences, that has tremendous value.
We're fighting for something innocent and something that needs protection, and that's the ocean.
Thank you, Jim.
Thanks.
Hard act to follow, but next is Luisa Vasquez Lopez, the Chief of Staff for the Mariners Museum and Park. The Mariners Museum has a special relationship with the National Marine Sanctuaries as it serves as the visitor center for our first National Marine Sanctuary, which I alluded to before, the Monitor National Marine Sanctuary, which is celebrating its 50th anniversary this year. Luisa, thank you for joining us and for being such a good partner. Please tell us more about yourself.
All right, I feel very honored to be in this room with you all today and with these amazing organizations. It is something that we enjoy, we treasure, and we really try to take advantage of every time we can to be able to share our stories. As Nicole said, this year was the 50th anniversary of the Monitor National Marine Sanctuary, and as she said as well, it was the first of, all of the sanctuaries that we have in place today. In 1987, the Mariners Museum and Park was designated by Congress as the primary repository and conservation facility for all Monitor artifacts recovered from the wreck of Cape Hatteras. And in 2007, we opened the Monitor Center and the Baton Conservation Complex to help us fulfill that charge of taking care, conserving, and preserving all of the artifacts and telling the story of Monitor, past, present, and future. But I think that, as the slide shows, I would be remiss if I didn't talk a little bit about the mission of the Mariners Museum and Park and how it really ties with this amazing partnership. We get to work every day with our partners in the Monitor National Marine Sanctuary. And we do that, and it starts with our mission to connect people to the world's waters and to one another. We truly believe that our maritime heritage, our shared maritime heritage, and the waters truly connect us all. So we utilize everything that we have in our collection, from the museum collection, Monitor collection, our living collection in our park, to really fulfill our mission. In 1930, and by the way, we turned 95 yesterday. So it was also an amazing anniversary for the museum. In 1930, when we were founded, we were charged to promote the public welfare, and we take that charge very, very seriously. We see ourselves more than an attraction. We see ourselves as a community resource, and it is with projects like the Monitor Project and many others that we hopefully will have a chance to talk about today that we are able to fulfill this charge. We want people to be able to identify it as mariners. We really believe that if we all are connected through the waters, everyone has their own story, their own connection. And our goal is, with our storytelling, our programs, and everything that we offer through the Monitor Project and many others, that we are able to create that connection. And as we tell people the stories of these mariners, and we tell people our own stories, our goal is that then you connect with other people through empathy, through knowledge, through expanding that connection with other community members. And as a consequence, we will improve and increase social capital in the communities that we serve. Something that I want to say before I let Kevin follow is that the Monitor Project is the largest marine archaeological metals conservation project in the world. So the project of Monitor is, it's a story of technology, the first revolving turret in naval history. It is a story of people of all backgrounds, from African Americans that escaped slavery to serve the Union, to stories of technology today and career exploration for our next generation. So it is my honor to work with Monitor so closely. It is my favorite project, not because I'm here, but I truly believe in the mission and its value to really stay relevant for many generations to come.
Sounds cool.
And next, I'd like to introduce Kevin Brannon. He's the founder of the Real Angler Network. Kevin is an avid recreational fisherman who shares his passion for nature and marine conservation on his YouTube channel and in his podcast. He is also the founder of the Real Guppy outdoor program, which takes local youth who wouldn't normally get the opportunity out fishing in his community around the Channel Islands National Marine Sanctuary, teaching them about the ecosystem and about being good ocean stewards. Kevin, thank you for doing that, and please introduce yourself to us.
Hello, everybody. I'm really honored to be here. I've been working with NOAA and fisheries and sanctuaries for about 8 or 9 years. I'm from the Channel Islands region, which is kind of like the North American Galapagos Island, they call it. I'm actually just a real nerd. I just like to do documentary filmmaking. That's how I got into the Real Guppy Outdoors to start it. Just what we do is basically we lure them in with fishing, and then we brainwash them into taking over the world, really. Through confidence building, team building. We work in our area a lot about the blue economy, but we're a family engagement program too. As recreational fishermen, I'm really like recreational fishing was where I started when I was about 11 years old. I would ditch school to go fishing. I'm not a scholar. I put the A in STEAM for angler and art. I'm more of an artist. That's why I like to do a film. But I wanted a television show that was more educational. Talked about, I'm a reading rainbow kid, so waking up watching PBS and Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood mixed in with a crocodile hunter and stuff is how you find out what I do. Thank you very much. So I would sneak on the dock, and they would, they got tired of kicking me off, and so they offered me a job as a pinhead, and basically that's why you teach people how to, you start out helping out baiting hooks and standing on a bucket. I was like 11 and chumming up calico bass and stuff like that, but answering the questions that people had, a lot of tourists that came to our area about fishing. How do you eat them? How do you cook them? I have a slogan that says, do your taste buds a favor and play with your food. And when we're doing especially with like fish that you catch, how do you process it? How do you follow sustainable fishing practices and then take it home and grill it up, whether it's lobster in our backyard, rockfish, sea bass. So we wanted to cover all that in our show, and then trickling in to Real Guppy Outdoors, we're able to bring that whole vision together. So we have a nonprofit side of educational part that takes me into schools to teach about our backyard, again, telling other kids that might not have been a super scholar that they could still chase their dreams and go after them if they had the right resources, confidence, somebody championing them for them to do that. Also, from a cultural standpoint, it's not always an economic breakdown. Sometimes it's just your household just didn't do fishing or outdoor experiences just as a cultural tradition. So I'm able to be the voice for all of that. So that way it's not, oh, those poor kids didn't get to fish. It's like, well, you walk into a store and all that stuff that you see on the wall, even the lady or the person selling the retail in Walmart might not even know how to get you rigged up. So showcasing them again, just ask for help. There's a big world out here, whether you love fishing, you love swimming, you like snorkeling, there's so much to do in our backyard, and that's kind of the basis of what I do. So I'll stop talking. Community Kev with a Real Angler Network, and you can Google that too, communitykevin.com. Check it out. Just keep going.
Our last panelist to introduce is Kathy Green, the Executive Director of the National Maritime Historical Society. Kathy's work spans education, history, and archaeology, all centered around preserving our maritime heritage. Kathy knows the sanctuary system well, as she previously worked at the Thunder Bay National Marine Sanctuary that welcomes about 80,000 visitors each year. Kathy, thank you so much for joining us. Please introduce yourself.
Thank you, Nicole. I have had the hardest time today saying the organization I work for, the National Maritime Historical Society, because I keep wanting to say National Marine Sanctuaries. I was with them about 13 years, and my time in sanctuaries, coupled with my time with state organizations, nonprofits, museums, helped me lead this national maritime organization whose goal is to protect and preserve maritime history, and I think more importantly to this group here today, to make it relevant to our communities today. We produce a quarterly magazine, See History, if you could forward the slide. And See History is that megaphone of taking all of these stories we're talking about today and that we've talked about all day, and bringing them to a national stage. And as you can see here, we've been producing this magazine for over 50 years. And this is just a sampling of some of the times we've featured National Marine Sanctuaries on the cover of the magazine. Again, this partnership that we have, not only with sanctuaries, but with maritime organizations across the country, is how we can bring this story to the masses. We have individual members, we have organizational members, and we work with partners like Mariners, like Force Blue, again, to be able to tell all of your stories to a wide audience.
All right. So let's get to some questions and discussion. The first couple of questions are for the entire panel. Doesn't mean everyone has to answer, but everyone's welcome to answer. And the first question, I'm going to ask that we start with Jim in the response, and now I'm going to speak slowly to give him a chance to process that. And then anyone else jump in, please, if you'd like to. So Jim, we're living in a dynamic time.
Yes.
We have a new administration bringing new priorities and opportunities for how we deal with ocean and coastal issues. How is your organization meeting this moment?
Yeah, that's a great question, Nicole. I think certainly there are challenges out there. Nobody here is unfamiliar with that. But I think we're uniquely positioned at Force Blue to kind of meet the moment right now. We have the ability, because it is a unique structure, people are not used to hearing Navy SEALs and Green Berets and Air Force pararescuemen talking about marine conservation. So we're able to really speak to a different maybe side of the aisle, or just a different subset of people that won't get the same message from a marine scientist. But it's also helped us, I think, in attracting private sector partnership, which I think is invaluable right now as we look at, we kind of see the way the wind blows. Because again, we are a veteran organization that engages in marine conservation work. We've been able to partner with the NFL. We're doing a partnership with the NHL this year, Pepsi, public supermarkets, Mars. We're going to go to Indonesia and do some work with Mars Corporation later this year. And these are all organizations that by and large haven't been involved in marine conservation, but maybe the veteran aspect is a spoonful of sugar that helps the medicine go down, So I think that is what we look at as the opportunity right now. I think the fact that next year is the country's 250th birthday anniversary. We are, and we have an opportunity to celebrate that, and to celebrate, as we talk about the National Marine Sanctuaries, these national treasures. They're America's national treasures, and it's a time when we need to be celebrating stuff within our own borders. And I just think having veterans as a leading advocate of that makes all the sense in the world. So that's how we're attempting to meet the moment.
Thank you. Thank you. Anyone else on the panel want to talk about their organization? Yeah, please.
I think it's great. I think there's an opportunity right now. I think there's just a shift in the era that's wide open. If you want to be a pioneer, or you want to be innovative, right now is the time. I think you won't gone from an industrial revolution to a digital revolution. And since I do work with youth and entrepreneurship and ownership, right now is a great time for your creativity to try it out. People going after things that they love to do, like myself. So showcasing that right now. There is a lot of opportunity, digital and smart, and the gatekeepers don't hold all the gates anymore. You might need to do more collaborative efforts, which is great. He just talked about all kinds of collaborative efforts with big names, and part of nonprofit, I think, has been like that, is how we bring our resources. So with the CHOW, right, the city where we live at, Wainimi, means resting place, and that's where they would get together and share their resources, the tribes, and then they would spread back out. And I think that's what we're doing right now. Now, instead of having a scarcity mindset, think about how much opportunity you could build through collaborative efforts with other people, in the same, but maybe not exactly in the same industry as you, and how do you guys collaborate together, If you're gonna use fishing terms, you gotta go through your whole tackle box, you can't just keep throwing the same lure out there, you gotta mix it up. And I think right now it's a great time for that, Again, as we're growing and new people coming in and technology and new ideas, there is a shift just in some of the used to be's that are kind of transferring out, and it gives us all an opportunity. Our program is called Oceans of Opportunity, because we look for solutions. Again, if you're a Navy SEAL, right, you got to have these solution-based kind of a mindset. So that's kind of what we're teaching. Don't turn the TV off and don't look at all the devastation. Go out and create it, man. You have opportunity right now like never before, so maximize it.
Awesome, thank you. Anyone else on the panel want to talk about meeting the moment?
If I may, please. I mean, representing a tribe, we live the life of perseverance and change and dynamics. And so I know some folks think now, as government gets smaller, perhaps we pivot from the public sector to the private sector. But also, there's a lot of opportunities with us to collaborate with all stakeholders no matter what project we're working on. And I think tribes uniquely having to find a way to fund their governments, to support their education, their health care, all of the infrastructure needed to support a community, but we don't have tax bases. We're all on economic development. We're partnered with different governments, and they're not always there to be able to meet the needs, and so we have to fill in, where they may not be able to support us. So we're uniquely fit to persevere.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. And in all cases, the need doesn't go away. Right, the landscape may shift, the supply may shift, but the need itself remains, and so you all are stepping up into that space. Let's go to our next question, and I'm going to ask Kathy to start with our response. Kathy, every day, coastal communities, municipalities, nonprofits, and businesses, they all have to decide on their priorities. And they may have a diverse suite of responsibilities, and they're competing for the same pool of funding as others. How do you and your organization balance these competing needs and obligations, knowing that there's finite resources?
Yeah, and I'm just going to echo a little what you said about not taking a scarcity mindset. As a historian, right, the one thing you can be sure of as things are always going to change. And I'll just point to when I started working for Marine Sanctuaries in the early 2000s, I believe there were 2 maritime heritage employees, and that grew over the years to have, I think, one of the premier programs in the country of maritime heritage. Things are always going to change. One of the other things I've seen is that increasingly over that nearly 25 years, partnerships have become increasingly important, whether it's working with the Mariners Museum on conservation projects, whether it's working with volunteer divers, or working with universities and other academic partners on research, and even across NOAA, working with the folks doing coastal zone management, doing some of the survey work. That helps everybody across the board, and sharing that information, I think, is how you exponentially kind of grow it. It's not only sharing the work to get it, but then sharing the results afterwards.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Anyone else on the panel?
Yes, I would like to say that, the world changes constantly every year. And what is important for nonprofit organizations is to see themselves as businesses as well, where you have to adapt, but you have to stay very true to yourself. What is your mission? What is your strategy? Who are you serving? And then from there, sharing the stories and the work and the need with everyone else. So through storytelling and spreading the word, having very personal conversations with your supporters and partners, not just reaching out to people when you need money or when you need a volunteer, but really building very strong relationships that last for years. So then when things change, when the bank may look a little bit different, the funding and resources may look a little smaller, then you can go to those individuals because they are your friends. You've worked with them. They have become part of your organization. So I would say that it's very important in order for you to prioritize, to know what your mission is, what your strategy is, what you're trying to accomplish, what need in the community you're trying to meet, because I guarantee that many people around the community will want to join you in that. And that's how you then build these big coalitions, and groups of universities, school districts, private foundations, and others that want to come together because they want to be a part of that.
That makes a lot of sense, Lisa. Anyone else want to talk about setting your priorities?
Yeah, I would just say, the one thing that does not change is the value of service. We may forget about it occasionally, but if you can instill that back into people, if you can get folks pulling in the same direction from maybe very different perspectives, SEALs and scientists, very different perspectives in a lot of cases, but there's a sense of service, and I think that's really important right now because it doesn't lose its value. And what it does for you, what it does for our veterans when they're engaged, scientists we work with, is what makes makes the mission so special and really inspires us and inspires others who see it. So I think that's just something to always remember, is that service is at the heart of the entire National Marine Sanctuary system. So.
Yeah, I agree. Anyone else?
I think that just even though we're under this umbrella, like by not just saying that we're a take kids fishing, by saying we're educational and kind of having like you say, strategies and diversifying your portfolio so that you're not just one dimensional, and then finding other mission people that have aligned with the same mission and visions that you have. Again, it does help out, just something to really build your foundation on. So when it does shift the pendulum back and forth again, you're anchored in. I use a little nautical term. You're anchored in pretty good. But that's a good strategy to have. First, have your strategy plan and your partnerships and stuff, and stick to the mission, like you said, man. And you can't. That's just philosophy.
Yeah. Awesome. All right, I'm going to look to Chairman Khan, and I'm also going to encourage you to bring questions forward. Is there someone collecting the questions? Excellent. Because we are soon to be able to take a few audience questions. Chairman Khan, please.
Yeah, no. So we just celebrated the 6-month anniversary of the CHOW Marine Sanctuary. I figured I'd throw that in there since I know there was a couple plugs, but what a time for us to be focused on preserving the coastline along our Aboriginal territory. And for us, it's a little scary because of the lack of funding, the lack of support, et cetera. But what lifts us up is we're surrounded by the Morro Bay Marine Sanctuary. We're surrounded by the Channel Islands Marine Sanctuary, so we don't have to reinvent the wheel. What we just need to do is we need to focus on what they've done right and what they have learned from. And so again, looking to our partners, looking at our collaborations to see how we might be able to refine our programs before we even begin.
That's a great answer. I'm really excited for the future of the Chumash Heritage National Marine Sanctuary.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. How best to get some audience questions? Let's see. Excellent. All right, the moment of truth. Let's see if our audience has been listening. Oh, okay. For anyone really on the panel, what is your call to action today? That's a big one. Call to action, go Jim.
Ours is pretty simple. If you believe in our mission, you want to play a part in its success, visit forceblueteam.org and please donate.
Thank you.
So that's
awesome.
Yeah, I would say get involved. Everyone in the room, I'm sure, it's involved in something related. But it is important, it takes the whole community to get together, to come together, to make things happen. So we gotta get involved. We have to connect people. If you know someone that may be a great contact for anyone, just make that connection. Connections is what makes us go around. Get involved. Don't stay quiet. Just if you are passionate about something and if you want to see change, you gotta make it happen yourself.
Well, and I would say find your maritime story, whether it's looking at your own history, your family, your people's history, whether it's how you interact with the water, fishing, kayaking, sailing. There's a personal story there that's going to help inspire you and the people around you to do something about.
And you can come to the Mariners Museum and find your own connection to the water.
There you go. There you go.
All right, I have one, I think, for Chairman Khan. How can other tribes in the United States learn more about stewarding the land and water? And how can, it says USA community, I'm going to assume that means the non-tribal members, become allies?
Well, I mean, I think our efforts with the Chumash Marine Sanctuary is the perfect example. We looked at the Olympic coast, and we looked to see what the treaty tribes up there were doing. They paved the way for us to have a seat with the state and NOAA in managing these sanctuaries. And so for us, we learned from some of our neighbors up in the north, and certainly we would be willing to share our story as well with any tribes that want to try and do what we've done. And certainly, we have a lot of collaborations with non-native organizations when it comes to preserving different land, cultural, sacred sites, our endangered species, et cetera. And so, again, the collaborations that we have, for tribes, we don't look at the first quarter, the second quarter, or the third. We look at generational planning. So it's very unique, and we're very fortunate to be in that position. So collaborate, learn, and share as much as possible.
Yeah, thank you. And for our historians, Louisa and Kathy, you all are, of course, thinking intergenerational, looking back, but also preserving going forward. Do you have any lessons in that for us?
I would say that for the Mariners Museum, and going back to that, your star, your guiding star, for us, 9 years ago, as we were trying to really make sure that we were following that charge of promoting the public welfare, we determined that the most important segment of the community that we would serve is the school-aged child. We have many generations. We have older individuals that may love history, may be passionate about Civil War, but we knew that if you're not bringing in the next generation early on to really understand how relevant all of these stories are, not just in terms of our maritime heritage, but also in terms of technology, careers, and all the possibilities of the future. So for us, we have made them be the top priority. So all of the engagement that we are trying to do around USS Monitor and many other themes starts with children. They are the first segment of the community that we're going to try something with. From scavenger hunts, because who doesn't like a scavenger hunt? So they can explore through the galleries and learn a little bit more about Monitor and the Battle of Hampton Roads, to a lot of different hands-on activities that really introduces them to conservation, from just checking what's inside of the gun boring. We created these little cannons with sand inside, and kids have to dig in, like if they were, conserving, to really try to find the artifacts that are within, that cannon. So just creating a lot of different engaging activities for children and making them a priority, because again, once we are all gone, they are the next generation that will continue to pass along, that passion, just like we saw in your video with that kid that learned that the world is a lot bigger than we think. Kids are mesmerized, and a lot of the kids that we serve, even though we live in Newport News, Virginia, coastal community, have never been in the water. So we're lucky that we have a Mariners Lake, and we bring them there to have that first experience kayaking, planting eelgrass to help with the environment. So children are just the future, and we have to invest in them.
Well, and to build on that, to take that interest from a young age and show how maritime careers not only are relevant, but absolutely needed, whether it's building, the merchant fleets and the navies of our future, whether it's staffing those vessels and those shipyards. There's a critical need for folks to work in the maritime trades and maritime careers. So sparking that interest early, being able to tell some of those stories from history and archaeology to inspire folks to go into these kind of careers, I think is a next logical step to keep America's maritime heritage going.
Thank you, Kathy. It's a really good point. The maritime industry, whether it's with shipping or ports or engineering, there's such a demand right now. Yep. Across the board. There are folks really struggling to hire, and so getting people to realize very early that there's all kinds of careers associated with our maritime industries. Kevin, tell us a little bit about what it's like to work with kids that may have never been fishing before.
It's pretty cool. you know, just, but also their parents too. So we say there's a kid in all of us. And for us to continue recreational fishing, who spends the disposable income, just watching people, again, when I worked on the boats, watching people from Chicago, I remember visiting, to watch anybody catch their first fish. That doesn't have to be this gigantic monster. The name of our first children's book is called Catch a Memory, not, you know, it's not Catch a Monster, because we don't ever want to highlight fishing as you need to be in an exotic location. You need to have all this expensive fishing gear to actually enjoy recreational fishing. So just watching anybody catch their first fish, again, they're going to remember that for the rest of their life. And when I tell them what we do, that's when they start to, I remember catching this fish with my grandfather way back in, you know, like you could see the tunnel vision, like they're reliving that experience that they had a chance to do it. And then capitalizing on what you guys are saying is that we do talk about the blue economy. I live in Port Hueneme, which is the third biggest port in the Navy, right between two bases, and showing them that there's a career pathway on the ocean as well, where they want to be rangers at the Channel Islands, working in the port in the nautical area, marine biologists, you know, that. So we do that same thing as kind of showcasing them and having guest speakers come into our facility to show them about the career paths that are out there on the blue economy in the water. So, but watching a kid catch their fish and they're so stoked and excited and stuff, and kids, like you were saying, they're like sponges. So when we let them hold the crabs and we pull the crab net up and they get a chance to touch it, and then they're teaching another kid, oh look, this is a slender crab, and they don't really like, so utilizing them to teach the other kids, but they're just little sponges. So as long as the parents are like, don't stop, quit, don't touch it, before they scare them off, we get a chance to like show them the confidence of holding it and stuff. And even like them learning how to cast, and they hook up here and we'll lie to them and tell them it's a pylon shark. So they're loosen the drag and they're like fighting this pylon, and then it'll break off. I'm like, oh, that's great, set me back up. So we'll kind of play along with them to keep them engaged, not just like wait for the fish to bite, you know, like we kind of have all the other ways to keep them inspired the whole time.
A pylon shark.
Pylon sharks are biting.
That's pretty awesome. That's pretty awesome. Okay, it's time for us to begin the wind down. We have a few more minutes. I want to end with a thought-provoking final question for everyone. In a nation that dares to dream, what are your hopes and dreams for the future in your area of work? Specifically, what technological or societal breakthroughs or innovations would make the biggest impact to propel your work forward? And I'm going to start with Kevin.
All right.
And I'm going to end with Chairman Khan. So Kevin.
We just like to inspire them, man. So let them like just be creative. I guess my dream would be, just, you know, creatively, like, especially right now at a digital time, you know, that they could, we could utilize this. I heard the guy again from the previous panel, like talking about the commercial fishing and the importance of eating seafood and stuff like that, you know, that how important it is. You know, you could eat a hot Cheeto and not ask twice, can I eat that? But when we go fishing, people are like, you could eat that fish? And it's like, well, if you could eat that mystery sludge at McDonald's, you could eat this fish too. Yeah. You know, it's just a cultural breakdown of what we'll eat, you know, and I think that's it, is just people recognizing, echoing that you know, we purchase more seafood when we go out to eat at a restaurant than we actually catch and harvest ourselves. We think harvesting is more like fruit or agriculture, where harvesting is also hunting and fishing, and something about just harvesting your own catch and then cooking it and the accomplishment. So I don't know if that's the answer to your question, but for me, just people to understand, again, fishing isn't just about us depleting the ocean of a resource, but how do we live in harmony with it, you know, and cultivate and harvest enough for us to eat and share that, you know, when we eat together and ceremonial, something like that. I just really like, that's where we really tie into our basis. So just continuing that we're not preserving it to death, and that we're really living in harmony and able to harvest forever, you know. Generations
making that
to come.
Connection and catching a memory.
Yeah.
All right, that's really nice. Kathy, you want to go next?
I think, you know, similar to that, having maritime heritage woven into the fabric of our larger American heritage, having it not be this side piece, and having folks understand that we are a maritime nation. No matter where you are, inland, coast, it's our maritime history is a big part of what built this country, and seeing that as integral in who we are, I think would be a big step.
Thank you.
I was going to say something very similar. I wonder why. But I think for me, you know, tying to what she just said is going back to the mission of connecting people to the world's waters and to one another. I think we all have to find, that place that really sparks joy, that really connects us to the water and to our heritage, and really, like you were said earlier, is really find your own connection. If you find your own connection and then you're sharing with others, we really are gonna find more things in common than things that really separate us, makes us different. We are, the world is always pulling us apart from each other, telling us how we are different from each other. And I really think that if we spend time looking at the stories, from the past, the stories from today, and looking into what we're trying to do in the future, we're gonna be a lot more empathetic. We're gonna find that commonality with that person that we didn't think we had anything in common with. And it's really maritime heritage, by working at the Mariners Museum, coming from Puerto Rico, and just understanding maritime heritage and maritime history, there is a lot more than connects us, than separates us apart. And, I think we just need to do what she said. And then connect with each other. Come on, I'm sure that you have something in common with someone in this room that you don't even think you have something in common with. And it's the water. The water is everything. The water is everything, so.
Jim, your hopes and dreams?
Yeah, wow. I think that at the heart of a lot of the division that we see not only in this country but around the world is a crisis of belonging. I think people are desperate to belong to something positive. And if you don't give it to them, they're gonna find negative things to belong to. I think we've seen that. My dad, who was a World War II veteran, among a lot of other great things, used to say when I was a kid that any jackass can burn down a barn, but it takes a leader to build one. And I guess my hope would be that we would be creating more leaders. We would step up and find the leader in ourselves, but also be creating that next generation of leaders, and not just jackasses. So that would be my hope.
Kenneth?
That's a hard one to follow.
I know.
Well, our tribal folks, we have connections with our spirit animals, and I look at by land the coyotes, the bears, by sea, we have the swordfish, the dolphins, and by air, of course, our precious birds, and in our tribe, the condor, which I have a little symbol here on my lapel. And for me, it's looking after those precious resources, and as I mentioned earlier, generationally planning. And I grew up in Boy Scouts and was always taught to leave things. When you come to an area, you leave it as you found it. But I like to look at it and take it one step further. That when we come to somewhere, we leave it better than we found it. And so. With the tribal roots and how I was brought up, it was always really being one with our environment, and we want to leave it better for the next generations.
Thank you. So I'm going to close it out and thank all the panelists, and then maybe embarrass them a little bit, because I am so deeply inspired by their work. And so grateful to be a part of the National Marine Sanctuaries, that you all do your work in and around, and appreciate that connection so much. Each of these folks on stage, in their own ways, are both preserving and creating our national heritage with everything that you do. And as we heard from Jim a little bit about service earlier, for those of you who have not caught the service bug, it is a calling. Keep your ears and eyes open for it. It is clear to me that each of the panelists have been called to public service, whether they are taking kids fishing, preserving coral reefs, or really convincing the public that the United States is a maritime nation. I see these folks as shining examples of public service. And I know there's probably some of you who came to Capitol Hill Ocean Week thinking, what is this thing called service? And what's it look like? And how can I serve? Well, there are a diversity of examples of giving back. And because I have asked them for their hopes and dreams, I'm going to leave you with a little bit of my own. My hope is that every one of us sees public service as our own personal responsibility, and that we each find a way to care for a National Marine Sanctuary, another outdoor space, a child, our historical maritime heritage, or our cultural treasures that the next generation will want to have access to, but only if we are able to save it for them. And my dream is that anyone that gives that a try will have the deep satisfaction that I know you all feel, and that I feel in working for and giving to the natural world and our nation that depends on us. So thank you, panelists, for daring to dream. You have set the bar high, and I think we all can too. With that, thank you all for being with us today, and let's get to work.
Thank you, Nicole, and thank you to each of our amazing panelists and leaders who are serving so many ways. Thank you. We have two amazing men providing the closing somehow on top of all of that leadership and service, and I'm very honored personally to know both of them in their different capacities and the work that they've done as being ocean champions. I want to start by introducing Captain Will Benson. He was raised in Key West, Florida. Captain Benson is a true leader, a connector, and a driver in his community in the Florida Keys. As a saltwater flats guide, he is making his livelihood on the water, raising his family in the same waters that he grew up in and treasures. He's previously served on the Florida Keys National Marine Sanctuaries Advisory Council, representing his community and engaging in stewardship and community-centered management. And also currently, he's a leader in science communication with the world-renowned Bonefish Tarpon Trust that is helping make connections between science, community, and decision-making moving forward. So please help me welcome to the stage Captain Will Benson, also our National Marine Sanctuary Foundation 2018 Volunteer of the Year for his service.
Thank you, folks. It's good to be back here in the Reagan Center. The last time I was here was in 2018, and it was a wonderful night. I was given a really terrific honor for the service that I've done. And I just wanted to echo that theme that I heard there at the end of the talk about service and how important it is. It's been a huge part of my life. And for some of you younger folks that are out there who are just showing up to this stuff, I encourage you to get involved, find ways that you can serve. There's nothing better in the world than that. But I wanted to just remark for a moment and try to sum up what I heard here on this panel today. And I kind of keep coming back to this theme of partnership and how, from what I'm hearing here and looking at the future, how partnership drives understanding and how partnership helps us tell stories. So a little bit, I want to tell you my story. I'm from the Florida Keys, as you heard. I have 2 kids and trying to raise a family. But I'm a fishing guide, and when you're a fishing guide, you're out there and you're trying to find fish, and you go to your secret spots and stuff. But one of the things that we found as we started to see the environment degrade and the fishing get harder is that we recognized we needed to partner. Fishing guides needed to partner together with each other if we were going to have a louder voice. So I helped form up the Lower Keys Guides Association, and that partnership, getting guides in the same room, getting them to believe in a common cause and share their voice together, made us really powerful. And I found myself then going to the National Marine Sanctuary and volunteering for my service with the Florida Keys National Marine Sanctuary. And all of a sudden we found that we were having a partnership with, with the government and with agencies, which is really terrific. But we were missing one critical part of that. And that one, in my opinion, it might be the most important part, is the science, is the facts. And so we sought out a partnership with the Bonefish and Tarpon Trust. These are the folks that do, preeminent science about bonefish tarpon research, spawning sites, et cetera, et cetera. And what we found in that chorus of partnership was that we could bring science to the fight and that we could have a real impact when it came to engaging with the government. And that partnership has been key to, driving changes for the future. One of the things that we've just recently dealt with this partnership, you guys may have seen it on the news, was the spinning fish crisis. This is a really, we believe to be a result of the hot wave that we had, the heat temperatures that we had. And those, it produced a kind of result where the fish were spinning and it was kind of freaking everybody out. So we had to figure out what to do with it. Well, there you had a great partnership with the fishing guides, partnering with the science conservation organizations, and then partnering with the agencies to come up with and figure out what was going on and how do we deal with it. Again, back to this message of partnership being key to everything. But why are we doing it? Well, the reason that we're doing it is we're all a community down there, and a community needs to survive, and a community needs to thrive. And beyond anything else, as a parent and a family man and a businessman, I need to make money. So this partnership really is about, protecting the environment, having good conservation, which in turn, when you have good conservation, you have good business. You're protecting your economic future. And for instance, just in the state of Florida, recreational fishing is roughly an $11 billion industry. It's huge. So this partnership and the stakeholders that I represent and the partnerships that we have with the science organizations and the government agencies is really the pathway to the future. It's that partnership that's going to protect our economy. But finally, I just want to reflect on that last question that was asked about hopes and dreams. And I think about these kind of partnership things, and what I would want out of it is I would like for all of us in the future to look to seek out partnerships, because partnerships drive change. And with that, thank you very much, guys.
From the beautiful waters of the Florida Keys, thank you, Captain Benson. It is a jewel that really underscores how much it takes to really look at protection of our ocean coasts, and at the same time, the passion and the purpose that that community has in coming together and thinking about how that is really the backbone of so many livelihoods, so many economies, but also so much love and generational knowledge that comes forward. So thank you very much. It now gives me a great pleasure to head to the West Coast. I'd like to introduce and have you all join me in welcoming Representative Jared Huffman. Congressman Huffman represents California's 2nd Congressional District, spans the North Coast to the Oregon border, from Golden Gate to the Oregon border. Congressman Huffman is a champion for the health of our ocean and our coastal communities. He has long served to honor and support people's connections, enjoyment, and responsibility for our treasured waters. Currently serving as the ranking member for the House Natural Resources Committee and co-chair of the House National Marine Sanctuaries Caucus, he uses these critical leadership roles to get the facts out about the importance of our ocean and the impacts of changing ocean conditions, as well as keeping our U.S. fisheries sustainable under strong Magnuson-Stevens Act, and by also addressing illegal, unregulated, and unreported fishing. For years, he has worked at all levels of government, currently in his role to restore natural ecosystems, to increase access for vulnerable and marginalized communities, and to ensure a healthy and safe ocean for us all. Congressman Huffman.
Well, thank you, everyone. It is great to be here at Capitol Hill Ocean Week. Anyone from the North Coast of California? Okay, that's what Well, you know what I'm talking about then when I brag about the 2nd Congressional District, which goes from the Golden Gate Bridge up to the Oregon border, about a third of the beautiful, amazing California coast. It makes me appreciate the work that all of you do. So I want to thank the National Marine Sanctuary Foundation for giving me the honor of closing out this panel and thanking you, for all of you, for your incredible leadership. For all of the ocean advocates and policymakers, scientists, ocean champs of every kind from every corner of our country, thank you very much for the work you do and for showing up here this week. And thanks for your passion and the expertise that you bring to these things and the commitment that you bring to these things. This is a tough time. And I'm sure you've all been thinking about it and struggling with it. I mean, all of us really are struggling in this moment, all of the chaos and conflict and division and drama and fear and all of these things. And I think it's a time, especially those of us who care about our oceans, and certainly anyone who works to defend healthy oceans, to really remember how important this work is and to allow our oceans to continue to inspire and motivate you. I try to do that all the time, to keep myself fired up and in the ring and doing what I can. I'm the ranking member in the House Natural Resources Committee, and I'm honored to also be the co-chair of the National Marine Sanctuaries Caucus. Yeah, okay, kind of a half clap for that. I should get more of a clap than that. And look, I'm honored to do this work because I believe that a healthy ocean is more than just an issue. It's something that's very personal for me and for my constituents. I don't just represent this beautiful coastal area and the ocean resources that it includes. I live in a coastal community. I recreate in these places. I fish these waters, and you know, I've wandered the tide pools of my district and other parts of California with my kids and taught them about the anemones and the sea stars and everything else. It's really amazing, and I'm so fortunate to represent and live in this place. I was just in another beautiful place on the other side of the world, in the Mediterranean Sea, the Amalfi Coast of Italy. Got in late last night, and you know, it's beautiful. I certainly understand why people from all over go and visit it and marvel at the crystal clear waters, and it really is quite pretty. But I asked my friend Google why the waters of the Mediterranean Sea in that area were so absolutely crystal clear, where you can look down from a boat and see, you know, 30 feet to the ocean floor. And the answer I got back is there's not much biological productivity. That it's basically a place where there's very little phytoplankton, and all of the productivity that I take for granted in a place like the California coast, where the water may not be quite as clear. It's because we have phytoplankton and all of this stuff going on in the water. And as a result, you know, when you wander our tide pools, you see all this life. And when you wander the beautiful crystal clear waters of that part of the Mediterranean, you don't see any life. I mean, the tide pools are quite dull. And you don't see marine mammals and all of these other things that are such an awesome part of the California coast and our Pacific Ocean that I'm so privileged to represent. So I'm just incredibly passionate about the work I do, incredibly grateful to be able to do it. And I'm proud that my district is home to two of the most biodiverse marine sanctuaries in the nation, the Greater Farallones and the Cordell Bank National Marine Sanctuaries, protecting a vast part of California's coastal waters, including critical habitat, sustaining fisheries. I represent, in addition to all these beautiful places and all of this abundance, working waterfronts where people make their living on the water, and we want to obviously sustain that in every way we can. And of course, incredible cultural resources that are super important as well. These sanctuaries hold profound significance to the tribes of this country, and I represent 25 tribes, more than anyone else in the lower 48 states. Thanks to the Inflation Reduction Act, we have secured $2 million for critical repairs and upgrades at these sanctuary facilities, the campus in San Francisco specifically. We have, all right, thank you. I wish I could send more money, but it's getting a little tough right now. We'll keep trying. We have helped to bring home critical funding to support something that I think is super important, large-scale bull kelp restoration in the sanctuaries along Sonoma and Mendocino counties' coastlines. And we're supporting both the ecological resilience and the private-public partnerships that are so critical to restoring our kelp forests. This restoration work is not just some abstract line item in a budget. It is really tangible stuff that's happening on the ground and in the water. Trained commercial divers are hand-removing thousands of pounds of purple urchins. You should say boo when I say purple urchins. Thank you. Very good. They have, of course, overgrazed the seafloor and wiped out our kelp forests. And at the same time, scientists and community partners are working to replant bull kelp and monitor its recovery. And it's pretty exciting. We're getting some good results through all of this work. And so if you add in the slowly recovering starfish population, and someday if you add in the reintroduction of a great keystone species, the sea otter, which I strongly believe we need on the north coast of California, the future of our kelp forests is actually quite hopeful if we continue this good work. But as we look toward the future, our marine conservation work really does have to match the scale and the urgency of the challenges that we face. And we know, unfortunately, right now, at a time when we should be investing in science and resiliency in coastal communities, the most important agency for all of these things, NOAA, is under attack in a really big and unfortunate way. We're seeing proposed cuts to the very programs that sustain our ocean economy and power the essential public-private partnerships that many of you have been talking about today and working on, alongside mass layoffs, and this is causing skilled professionals who make all of this work possible to leave public service. And all of that is just terrible. And I oppose it, and we need to do everything we can to turn that around. These cuts are happening across the country. It's not just here in Washington. These cuts are happening across the country, and it's going to impact communities, partners, businesses all over the country, from California's north coast to every other district lucky enough to have a marine sanctuary nearby. And as we have heard from today's incredible panelists, we face a new set of evolving challenges. Climate change is accelerating biodiversity loss, threatening livelihoods, exposing environmental injustices that disproportionately affect underserved and frontline communities. And so for all of these reasons, you really need an agency like NOAA to be empowered to meet this moment and not to be under the attacks that it is facing. Because the bottom line, protecting our oceans is not just an environmental issue. It is about our economic security, it is about public health, climate resilience, and justice. I am proud to stand alongside so many dedicated leaders to make sure that we keep our oceans resilient and thriving for generations to come. Thank you all very much for having me here today and for the amazing work that you do.
All right, folks, we're in the home stretch. We're going to keep on rolling. So what would you do with a 620,000-gallon underwater lab? MITRE has invested in just that, the Blue Tech Lab. This is a national resource that is for advanced undersea testing, for innovation, for collaboration when it comes to everything from national security to science and research initiatives to cutting-edge technology and commerce and more. I'm pleased now to introduce a visionary in the blue tech space, Nick Rocker. Nick is MITRE's Chief Blue Tech Strategist and Distinguished Cross-Cutting Director of MITRE's Blue Tech Lab that is leading this enormous corporation into the maritime technology sphere. His work is revolutionizing underwater acoustics, sonar, signal processing, I'm still going, algorithm development, and distributed sensing systems through maritime innovation-related collaboration across government, industry, and academia. Those kinds of bridge builders are paving the way forward as we think about what it means to look at the next wave of innovation. But Nick is also connecting and mentoring early-stage entrepreneurs. He's seeking to accelerate the nation's blue economy from the ground up. And even earlier this year, MITRE and SOFAR Ocean partnered to advance Bristlemouth, a next-level connectivity standard for maritime technology that will support interoperability and unlock systems integration for ocean sensing and exploration at unprecedented scales. Alongside this cross-cutting work and cutting-edge work, Nick and MITRE are investing in everything from new ocean technologies to the next generation. They're going to be the brain trust, the tools of our maritime and coastal economies in the future. So please join me for our closing keynote, Nick Rotker.
All right, how's everyone doing today? Good? Awesome. That is a very tough act to follow, all these great panels today, all these great speakers, but I'm very happy to be here. As MITRE's Chief Blue Tech Strategist, I would like to thank the National Marine Sanctuary Foundation for its kind invitation to speak with you all today. As the first day comes to an end, I invite everyone here to reflect on all the great discussions we've had, the panels, the expertise that was showcased, and also on all the amazing opportunities that have been laid before us. Today, we've embarked on this journey here together to unlock the vast potential of the ocean, not just as a source of life and sustenance, but also as the foundation of the blue economy, a frontier for technological innovation and a platform for transformative progress. Let us end today by looking ahead at the work that still remains, and there's a lot of it out there. We talked a lot about it today, right? The ocean is a vast and mysterious place, and it's really calling each and every one of us to innovate, to explore, and to act. So let us begin with the ocean itself, right? It is massive. It covers more than 70% of our planet, and it still remains one of the least understood and explored domains that we have out there. More than 80% of the ocean's depths are unmapped, unobserved, and unknown. And just think about that for a moment. We have sent humans to the moon, rovers to Mars, and telescopes to the farthest reaches of the galaxy, yet we know so little about this massive resource on our own planet. And as my friend and renowned ocean explorer, Dr. Robert Ballard, likes to say, we have better maps of Mars than we do the 50% of the United States that lies underneath the ocean. But this reality, this vastness, right, it's an invitation to all of us. The ocean is the ultimate technological frontier, offering opportunities for innovation that can redefine industries, solve global challenges, and inspire generations to come. Today we stand at the threshold of a new era, one where technology is unlocking the secrets of the deep and transforming the way we interact with the ocean. The blue economy is central to this transformation. It's not just a vision for economic growth, it is a pathway to harness the ocean's potential, both responsibly and intelligently. It is about creating industries that thrive and coexist with the ocean while solving some intractable challenges related to global food innovation, offshore energy needs, and environmental stewardship, driving economic growth, creating jobs, and improving lives. And at the heart of the blue economy is the technology, the enabler that makes this vision possible. Consider the advancements we've seen in ocean exploration technologies over the past decade. Autonomous underwater vehicles equipped with cutting-edge sensors and artificial intelligence are mapping the seafloor with unprecedented precision, revealing landscapes that have remained hidden for millennia. These vehicles are capable of navigating complex underwater environments, collecting data in real time, and adapting to changing conditions, all without human intervention. They are helping us uncover hidden ecosystems, study local fisheries, and even locate shipwrecks that have been lost for centuries. AI is also helping transform the way we analyze ocean data. The vast amounts of information being collected from satellites, sensors, and underwater drones, traditional methods that we have out there and analyses just can't keep up. These AI algorithms are now being used to process this data, uncover patterns and insights that were once beyond our reach. For example, AI can predict changes in ocean currents, identify areas of declining biodiversity, and even forecast the impact of future climate on various marine ecosystems. These insights are not just academic, they are actionable and enable us to make informed decisions that protect the oceans and harness its potential for economic growth. But the applications of AI and autonomy go beyond just exploration. Imagine fleets of autonomous vehicles out there navigating and understanding what's going on within the environment, identifying areas of declining biodiversity, and harnessing all of the potential that is out there in the ocean. And at the heart of all these innovations is ocean data. Data is the enabler of this progress. It is what allows us to understand the ocean, predict its behavior, and make informed decisions. But as many of you know in this room all too well, collecting and analyzing ocean data is no small task. The ocean is vast, it's dynamic, it's constantly changing, making it one of the most challenging environments to study. Fortunately, technology is rising to the challenge. Sensors are being deployed on buoys, fishing vessels, underwater vehicles, and are capturing data every day from temperature to salinity to currents to the biodiversity that's out in our waters. Satellites are providing a bird's eye view of the ocean, monitoring changes in sea level, ice cover, and weather patterns. And AI is transforming this data into actionable insights, enabling us to predict everything from hurricanes to fish migrations. But ocean data is not just a scientific resource, it is a driver for the blue economy. It is being used to optimize shipping routes, improve disaster response, and even design new maritime technologies entirely. For example, data on wave patterns is currently being used to help engineers develop more efficient vessels that can traverse the seas using less fuel, while data on fish populations is guiding sustainable fishery practices that enable our fishermen to thrive and provide great economic value to our regions. The possibilities are endless here, and the more we invest in ocean data, the more potential we can unlock. But ocean data is also a shared resource, and its true value lies in collaboration. Governments, businesses, and researchers must work together to collect, share, and analyze this data, ensuring that it's accessible to all those who need it. This is not just a technical challenge, it is a cultural one, requiring us to break down silos, embrace a spirit of openness, cooperation, and partnership. Beyond exploration and data, the ocean is becoming a platform for entirely new industries and technology. Marine robots are advancing rapidly, enabling us to build underwater drones that can perform tasks ranging from environmental monitoring to infrastructure repair. Biotechnologists are discovering marine organisms with unique properties that can be used to develop new medicines, materials, and sustainable fuels. And engineers are designing systems that can harness the power of the ocean currents to generate new sources of energy. The blue economy is not just about sustaining existing industries, it is about creating entirely new ones. Imagine a future where the underwater drones are maintaining offshore installations, where marine biotechnologies are producing sustainable alternatives to plastics, and where ocean data drives localized predictive models for weather, fisheries, and disaster response on a whole new scale and resolution. This is the promise of the ocean as a technological frontier. A future powered by innovation, driven by data, and fueled by the timeless potential of the vast deep. But while technology is awesome and it enables us to solve all these problems and the ocean's most challenging problems, it is not the only catalyst that we need to achieve the vision that everyone in this room has for their various maritime research and capabilities. If there is one message that I hope you all to take away from me today, it is this. The partnerships are going to be key to enabling the future growth of the blue economy. The challenges we face, from extreme weather to food and economic security, are just far too complex, too interconnected, and too urgent for any one entity in this room to tackle alone. We need partnerships that transcend borders, sectors, and disciplines. We need governments, businesses, scientists, educators, and communities to work together, pooling their expertise in research and ideas, and oftentimes we need to find those partners and resources in the most unlikely of places. I'm going to share with you a story that illustrates to me the power of partnerships like this. MITRE researchers needed to develop a more advanced underwater transducer with unique performance characteristics, one that could only be realized through incredibly complex manufacturing processes that are not available at the time. Those MITRE researchers turned to an unlikely partner, a 3D printing company whose business model was to develop ceramic dentures. The MITRE team, along with our industry collaborators, were able to turn 3D denture printers into the first of its kind 3D printer capable of printing underwater piezo composite transducers. Those transducers allowed us to design novel operating parameters and designs that improve sensitivity and unique geometries not obtainable with standard manufacturing processes. That allowed the MITRE team, the engineers, and the industry partners to be able to solve different problem spaces that we were able to do on our own. This, in my view, is the essence of a partnership. It's not just about what the company does or how it fits into your current vision of the future. It's about the relationships we build, looking at the problem in a different light, and pushing towards that opportunity together. Partnerships amplify our impact, accelerate our progress, and ensure that the solutions we create are innovative and solve the right problems. But partnerships are not easy. I know most people in this room have had a few failed partnerships along the way, and they require us to really work hard and break down silos, listen to perspectives that are different from our own, and to commit to shared purpose. They require us to think beyond our individual goals and embrace the ideas that we are stronger together. And they require us to act, not just talk, but act with urgency and intention. Today, through the panels and videos, we saw the power of collaboration in action. Take, for example, the Defining Innovation panel earlier today. During that discussion, we learned about how NOAA is harnessing the power of regional innovation ecosystems through their Ocean Enterprise Initiative to create innovative solutions connecting mission-driven ocean entrepreneurs together to solve these big problems. These are the type of partnerships that are the foundation of progress, and they are what will drive us forward in the future, months and years to come within this blue economy. So before I step away, let me leave you with one final thought. There are many problems left to solve in the world's oceans, and I bet there is someone attending this conference who can help you solve it. Their technology or expertise may not seem like a match, but by partnering together, you can unlock new pathways and new opportunities that will enable us to continue to explore this vast unknown. Talk with someone who is out of your field or even in an adjacent market to the one you're currently in. Even if they have opposing views, identify a new organization to whiteboard ideas with and find new ways to collaborate. They might just have the missing piece that enables your idea to become a reality and a success. And with that, I thank you for listening to me today, and I look forward to partnering with you all and continue to develop the next technology needed to finally unlock the mysteries of the unexplored ocean and enable the blue economy of the future. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Nick, for giving us a vision of what the future can look like when we come together with a all-the-above strategy, a cross-sector approach, and we recognize that behind blue tech and the innovation are people with a lot of brilliant ideas, but obviously need an infrastructure and support and partnership to kind of carry it off. I am delighted by your attention today here at Capitol Hill Ocean Week, our first day of the conference. It has truly been a remarkable day. Thank you for your deep participation. There have been so many conversations held in the halls, in the exhibition hall, all the great posts that were up on social media. We truly appreciate it. Now really is the time to really raise all of our voices, and so we are very, very grateful for that. Our speakers invited us to recognize the power and the responsibility of ocean leadership and the need to seek out and embrace leadership from more diverse voices from all over. They reminded us that behind the innovation and technologies are people who agree. We all can come together to solve our challenges together, not apart. So I'm going to take a moment just again to thank our many sponsors and participants at the presenting and signature level. Thank you, of course, to NOAA. Thank you to the David Lucile Packard Foundation, the Henry Foundation, DEEP, Viking Marine Group, Yamaha Motor Corporation, National Marine Manufacturers Association, Brunswick Corp., and Vine. Your generous support made this day possible. We really appreciate it. Thank you to all of you who have been online with us, who have participated in the virtual sessions. Thank you for tuning in. I also want to thank our CHOW Advisory Committee, Kathy Green, Jeff Bohm, Mark Huang, Alyssa Weinman, Christy Clement, Dr. Dana O'Connell, Danny Washington, Whitney Potter Schwartz, Armand Alex, and Don Carnegie. Thank you all for helping us plan a really remarkable conference. So let's close today with this thought. Imagine yourselves as part really of this next wave we're talking about. You are our leaders, you are our innovators, you are the protectors of what we love. Together, let's carry the spirit forward into the next day of CHOW. I want you all to have a good night, enjoy the evening, come back rested, and we will see you all tomorrow. Thank you again.